Welcome back to Biss, baby. It's the Bionicle Inspiration series where the promotional Lego set in your Brickmaster magazine, where the free extra piece that you accidentally get in your Lego set, where the Lego store when it has a hot 20% off sale. That's right, we're the Bionicle Inspiration series and we're that feel-good Lego feeling, baby. Speaking of feeling good, today we're going to talk about fan-submitted MOCs, which I know is an episode that you guys very much enjoy, and it's the time where you get to shine, where you can, well, the whole episode is dedicated to fan-submitted MOCs, you know? Typically, every episode gets at least sort of one or two of the submissions from the email onto the show, but this one, 10 MOCs, all submitted by you. We're going to talk about them, no set theme, just the stuff that you guys so awesomely submitted. And if you're like, whoa, what's this submission thing? Well, you can see it on your screen right now. That's a submission email. Send me some images, send me whatever information you want, your name, the MOC's name, anything like that. Doesn't really matter what you put in the email as long as it's got some pictures there. And yeah, then it'll be eligible for the show. I'll put it on the list, and one day it'll appear on the show. But there is a lot of submissions, so your patience is key. But this is the best time for it, you know? 10 MOCs in this one, 10 fan-submitted ones. Who's gonna be on? Will it be you? Well, it's time to find out, isn't it? So let's begin. This MOC is by Johan Rexon, and this is called the ASTRU, which is short for the Adaptive Stealth Transport Recon Unit. It's a cool name. And it's also a pretty cool looking little chicken droid thing. It's not really a chicken, it doesn't really have wings, but I don't know, it looks like a chicken to me, and I like that. You know, it's got these funky looking little legs here, really strong looking legs as well. It very much looks like this is some sort of robot that's, a lot of the design that's been put into it is to really make sure that that thing's not going to fall over. It's got really strong legs, so if it gets hit by some sort of artillery blast or something in war, because it's a little recon unit. I'm sure it's involved in some sort of war in this imaginary world that Mr. Rexon here has made up. And yeah, I think it's cool. Just these big, strong, sturdy legs like that. The nice sort of curved shape that they have to them. You know, you could have done your very stereotypical kind of straight, normal humanoid style of leg, but it's nice that it's got this sort of a bit of a curve to the leg. It just works. It just looks really nice. A little bit more robotic, a little bit more unique. And it's enough to really take the MOC to another really cool, awesome level. So I really like that. Some other stuff that I really like is the turret design on this little guy here. Using some of those jet pieces. A lot of those jet pieces came in a bunch of the Fantoka Bionicle sets. And they work really quite well here as little sort of, you know, gun turrets of sorts. I also like that the main kind of barrels at the end of these guns are just your typical gears, you know. Just an interesting kind of shape and texture to those gears. It works well for a, you know, sort of gun-looking thing. And also kind of like the idea that, you know, just sort of, yeah, that gear texture to them. You're kind of like, I don't know, would you kind of see that sort of shape on a gun? But I kind of like that idea that it is a little bit different to what you might normally see because, you know, it's probably some interesting sci-fi gun. It's probably got some sort of crazy, weird laser technology to it that doesn't currently exist in our world. So, hey, it's okay if the gun looks a little bit different. That said, the gears actually do look pretty semi-normal for what you might find on some sort of turret. So that's not a critique in that sense. I actually think it looks fantastic. But I do also like that idea of how can you kind of spice up the gun in some fashion to be a little bit more science fiction, weird, out there, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, stuff to consider, of course. I also enjoy the head design on this MOC using a very similar design to the Borok Var, which were kind of like the Taraga for the Borok. This has that, Borok kind of shield weapon piece and two of those Borok eyes lutched in there, which I think looks pretty cool. You know, it's simple, it's easy, but it makes this MOC look pretty cute in my opinion. And I like that. Cute things with guns, hey, can't go wrong there. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's move on to the next MOC. It's by Fish MOCs, and this is called Rolf-Stadge the Starved, Famine of the Four Horsemen. A name that I cannot fully pronounce, but it's a cool name, and I think it fits the MOC actually quite well. So I think I'm a really big fan of this kind of longer-limbed, big kind of clawed aesthetic. I think there's something very kind of menacing and evil about it. The idea that, you know, I've touched upon this before, you know, when you have some sort of evil character, if they have elements to them that look very unnatural, very kind of monster-like, it does make them look a lot more sort of scary or sinister. And so the idea that they have fingers that are, you know, clawed and evil, and then limbs that just keep on going and going, it's different, it's weird, it's out there, it's creepy. It's like, oh man, that thing could grab me if I was super far away. There's no running away from this scary guy, you know? Just to kind of dumb it down a little bit there, I guess. But like, hey, it looks scary. Long story short, it looks scary. And that's, if that's the aesthetic that you're going for, well, you have succeeded, It looks awesome. And I'm always a big fan too when people do depart from the norm because, hey, it's always a challenge and a fun thing to attempt to really effectively recreate normal human proportions. You can look up any sort of reference images or just sort of study your own body or someone else's and see like, oh, okay, that's where the arm naturally lands, or that's how long a leg is or a torso is, da-da-da-da-da, in proportion to the other body parts, all that sort of stuff. But it can actually be really fun to just not do that. Sometimes it can be quite a challenge to actually get all the proportions perfectly matching. And you know what? It can just be way more fun to just do something totally out there. And so it's lovely seeing it on this mock here. And it being done so well, in my opinion, as well. Just really, really awesome, evil-looking aesthetic on this mock. It's just a nice sight to behold. And speaking of a nice sight to behold, I really enjoy the weapon that this mock has too. This, well, in some of the shots here, you can kind of see it, just the sort of main kind of hilt of this sort of longer staff here. Occasionally, it sort of transitions into a few little ball joints there. Very simple, very nice, and it kind of just gives it this more sort of elegant look to it, this sort of smooth flowing effect. It could just be that sort of longer hilt with, just those connector pieces or just a longer axle. But the idea of just adding in those ball joints subtly, just to give it something a little bit different, a little bit more spice on that meatball there, it's good. It's clever. It's nice, Ball joints, of course, are a very helpful, very useful piece. They can be great for, joints and all sorts of other parts of a mock. But hey, if you've got a few lying around and you want to put them on a weapon just to give it a different look, that's certainly something to consider. Because it looks great here, could look really good on your mock as well. I also really enjoy the head design on this mock. Again, lots of different claws and weird things coming out of it, and the idea of using that golden skull spider element there as this sort of interesting kind of face design just looks really awesome, really distinct and unique. Also, he's got a peg leg, again, why not? He's not necessarily a pirate, but hey, he had a leg got chopped off and he's like, look, I'm gonna put a thing on there instead. Problems are solved. It works well. Really cool. And also gold. I feel like, I don't know, gold is a pretty common color, surprisingly. I don't know, in my head it seems like it's rarer, but I guess it actually comes in a fair few sets, A lot of your G2 Bionicle sets had gold, you had a lot of Rocker and other Hero Factory sets that had those gold CCBS parts. You had Brutaka, a few other different Bionicle sets as well. There's a lot of gold to go around, so hey, build a gold mock, because gold is a great color. And it works really well here in conjunction with the translucent colors as well. It just really pops up against those. So very nice stuff. This next fan-submitted mock is by Alexander, and it's called War Machine. So something I quite like about this mock is the hand and arm design here. You can notice some little kind of rockets and other little things on there. Kind of almost looks like some subtle blades as well. And man, I love the idea of just sort of wrist-mounted weapons of some kind, whether it's, it shoots something or it's a blade of some sort. It just looks cool. I mean, Assassin's Creed, I feel like half of the success of that game is the fact that he has a hidden blade on his wrist, because that's just so dang cool. And yeah, I feel like it's just a great aesthetic to include on your own mock, or you could be a little bit more like Iron Man and you can shoot lasers or rockets or things out of your wrist, because again, that's just super cool. So yeah, nothing wrong with playing around with that idea on a mock that you might be considering here, because hey, it looks pretty cool on this little mock here as well. I also love that this mock uses the Praetorian Guard head. This of course came on one of the Star Wars Ultra Build Bionicle Lego sets, CCBS construction set, whatever you want to call it. You can call it any name. And it was a character that I thoroughly enjoy. I love the general design of those Praetorian Guards. And I also thoroughly enjoy the fact that that Praetorian Guard helmet is so, I don't know, it's so different, You look at like Darth Vader or a Stormtrooper or a lot of the other kind of very staple Star Wars characters, and you look at the head, and it can be a little bit harder to use on a Bionicle mock. If this was Darth Vader's helmet on here, you'd be like, oh, it's a Darth Vader mock, and you're like, oh no, I was trying to do something a little different from Darth Vader, and it's like, well, it's a little hard to not associate it with that character. But when you have the Praetorian Guard, who is a bit more of a, not necessarily a background character, because they are in quite a prominent scene in The Last Jedi, but you know, it's a character that's not on movie posters everywhere and that's well known and everyone dresses up as them and has shirts of them, you know. It's not so ingrained in you know, psyche of pop culture, you know. It's different, but yes, it has that association with Star Wars, but not enough for it to really kind of take away from the MOC, you know? So it's great seeing a head like this being used and it really taking up its own unique space within this MOC. You know, this MOC is really making that head its own. And also it's just great to see that Praetorian Guard head being used because I actually really like that design. So it's just, it's just really cool, you know? I like it. I also quite like the use of some of the plant element pieces on the lower legs of this MOC. Those plant element pieces came on the Invasion from Below sets from Hero Factory, one of the later waves of Hero Factory. There were some really, really cool pieces, and it's always great seeing them used in MOCs. It's quite a different piece, so it's just nice to see it being put to good use. So there you go. Fantastic little MOC by Alex there. Let's move on to the next MOC. This is a cool one. This one here is by Palm Trees, and it's called Atlantis Toa of Water. So in his email here, he was saying he really wanted to stress the fact about kind of the contrast between the mask and the kind of red color scheme on this. And he was really stressing that, like, hey, this is a Toa of Water. And I didn't quite fully read the description. I did later, but just bear with my story for a sec. As I was reading it, I was like, why is he red if he's a Toa of Water? That's certainly different. And I was like, oh, I'm keen to see why. And then as I kind of read, he was talking about the idea that this was inspired by the Atlantis wave of Lego sets, which had a lot of red-style sort of submarines and mechs piloted by humans. And of course, like I said, they were red. And so I really, really like that idea of building a Toa of Water, but they're kind of in some sort of underwater diving suit. And, you know, in this example, that suit is red, you know, or at least kind of taking inspiration from different themes that were underwater. You know, for example, you've got Aqua Raiders. They had the color schemes of yellow and trans blue, so you could do something like that. Or like this, Atlantis with its beautiful, you know, trans greens and, you know, its reds as well. So that's a really cool idea, playing off with a color scheme for underwater stuff, basing it off previous underwater Lego themes, or that idea, you know, maybe they're a Toa of Water, but they're in a scuba suit, and so that scuba suit can be whatever color you want. And what I love so much about that as well is the fact that in his description, he was saying, Mr. Palm Trees here was saying, he just happened to have a lot of red in his collection, and so he's like, well, I really want to put this to good use. Oh, here's an idea, I could do this, you know? So that's certainly something to consider as well. If you've got a lot of a specific piece lying around, put it to good use. You know, why not? It's not going to do any good sitting in a bin unless you just like looking at the bin of Lego. Because I like doing that. I have a bin of just like dark tan bricks, and I just like looking at it, you know? I mean, I build with them, of course, as well. But it is also nice to just be like, yeah, I got a lot of dark tan. I like that color, you know? So maybe it's nice to stare at pieces, but it's even better to build stuff. That's why we're here, you know? So, hey, put the pieces to good use if you've got a lot of them, because it works well here on this MOC here. So I love the concept. I love the kind of justification for that. And I think that's just a good principle in general, you know? If you're going to build something and, you know, maybe a concept is a little bit out there, a little bit different, if you can just find a way of justifying it, that's all that matters, you know? Because removing the reason why this is a red Toa of Water, you might be a bit confused. But as soon as you learn the reason why, it's really creative and really unique. So, yeah. Find a way to justify some of the choices in your MOCs, and it can really take the MOC to another level, because I'm quite impressed by this idea. I think it's cool. I think it's really creative, really unique. It's awesome. Not something you see every day. All right, let's talk about some of the details on this MOC. So I really like his sort of larger staff here. Again, it's red. Cool. Nice color coding going on there. And I also like the sort of larger sword piece at the end of this sort of longer staff, because that specific weapon is a Knight's Kingdom sword from some of the old Knight's Kingdom's construction figures. But it came in red specifically on an Exoforce set, which I think was called Supernova? Was it? After a quick pause and a cheeky Google search, it was called Supernova. Supernova was also one of the names of the comic conventions in Australia, so I was like, surely it's not, but it was. One of my favorite Exoforce sets, straight up, but also, hey, you know, always interesting to find weirder pieces that you can use with Bionicle in an obscure system set. You know, even today, that sort of stuff exists, you know? So, hey, that's cool. Great use of that slightly more obscure Lego piece there. And also, yeah, I do also love the fact that the Miru here, Liwa's mask, is in teal. You know, kind of maybe looks like he is a teal character inside this sort of larger red suit. I just like that. And also, teal and red, they actually go quite well together. I like that a lot. It's also nice to see those sort of larger fin pieces on the back of this MOC here, because they are stickered and they are from Atlantis set specifically, so it helps kind of tie the concept together a little bit more. It's pretty cool. So yeah, really nice work here. Next MOC now. This is by Thebraidlin. Yes, Thebraidlin. And it is called Kashmir. So I wrote in my notes here, stickers can make a MOC. I've touched upon this before in other videos. One of the things just in kind of my general process of building, when I'm kind of finished with the MOC, I dig out my drawer of Lego stickers, and I look through and I sort of put aside a little pile of stickers that I think might work with the MOC. And I kind of hold them up to the MOC and see what might work, and I might put a sticker or two on. I don't always, but sometimes I do. And it can just add that nice little extra subtle bit of detail, or just, I don't know, really improve the MOC in some fashion. And we take a look at this MOC here, and the inclusion of that, I believe it's stickered. It might be a printed piece, but I think it's stickered. That printed, very interesting, ornate little sticker there really just makes this MOC pop even more. It would already look fantastic without that sticker, but man, it does so much for this. That little extra pop of color and just the sort of beautiful detailing of it really just makes this MOC pop, and I love it. You know, this MOC kind of starts to get this sort of monk aesthetic going on. You know, specifically looking at the waist of this MOC, you know, the area with the sticker, and just additionally some other kind of panel pieces and different system pieces. It looks like sort of larger kind of monk robes. And I don't know, it's really cool. It's just a nice looking aesthetic, you know. It's maybe because I like Avatar: The Last Airbender, and also monks are just really cool in general. Removing it from Avatar, monks are cool. It's a nice aesthetic to lean into here, and especially just the beautiful kind of flow of all the different pieces there, using those panel pieces, using those system pieces. Just a really nice looking kind of waistcloth of sorts. It's really cool. I also love too, going up to the torso, the pecs on this man, you know, his larger kind of muscles up there. Really nicely designed, using a whole bunch of different system slope pieces and things to give him this sort of larger kind of ab-like look. It's a really nice design, really solid. I imagine those are connected with some sort of clip piece, whether that's some system clips or maybe some like mixel joints or something, just to give it that interesting kind of angle so that it looks a little bit more like you would see on a well-sculpted man's chest, you know? It's pretty cool. And of course we see another one of the Star Wars Ultra Build headpieces. This is from the Range Trooper. Again, you can kind of justify that same argument that this headpiece is a little less iconic, so you don't always see a Range Trooper. Instead, you can sort of conjure up your own thoughts of a unique character with his headpiece. It's a very nice headpiece to be using in MOCs, that's for sure. But yeah, some really fantastic shaping on this MOC, some awesome concepts, and a great use of stickers. What more could you want? Beautiful work. The next MOC we've got today is by Vyndred, and it is by Traveler Veridi. So, just a little fun note here in the description in the email. He was saying that this MOC was sort of akin or kind of inspired by characters like the Lich King, General Grievous, and some other stuff as well. So, hey, I can immediately see some of those elements on here, and it's always good to look to some of your favorite kind of character designs or characters from pop culture and other things in the world, and use that as inspiration for your stuff, because, hey, it works. Why not give it a go? So I always love seeing a MOC with multiple arms. I don't know what it is, I just like it. It might be because I really enjoyed forearms in Ben 10. But hey, it's cool, man. It's really cool. Or I really enjoyed Dexter Jetster from Star Wars. Maybe that's why I like multiple arms on characters. Anyway, enough Star Wars references, Ben. No. So another thing I like about these forearms, though, is the fact that two of them are that kind of trans blue color and the others are not. Although, well, that's not entirely true. The top arms have a little bit of trans blue on them. But still, it kind of feeds into the way that I'm looking at these. I kind of like the idea that maybe these arms are sort of like, maybe he's cast some sort of magic spell and then he's grown extra arms that are made of magic or something. Kind of like that idea. Or, I don't know, maybe magic is sort of enhancing the ability or muscles or strength in his arms, something like that. And so they glow this interesting color. Or they're just blue, you know? That could also work. But still, I like that idea. I like the idea that the arms aren't perfectly matching each other, that there is the sort of subtle differences from the top arms and the bottom arms there. So I like that. I think it works well. Something else I think works well is the Ikimu mask on this MOC. You know, naturally that mask has that sort of crowned spike aesthetic towards the top of the head. Not really spikes, but, you know, flowing appendages of some sort there. Not really appendages is the wrong word, but you know what I mean. The top bits on the mask. And I like that he's extended that even further by adding on some additional spikes there. Very similar spikes that you would see on characters like Umarak. Almost forgot his name there for a second, but I got it. Umarak. Because those thorns did come on him as the set. But what I like about that idea is, hey, if you're building a character currently and you're like, you know what I really love about this character? The cool spike crown thing on the top of their head. Man, if it's a thing you like, why not continue it even further? Why not expand upon it even more? Why not add even a little bit more of what you love? Why not, you know? So I love this idea. Hey, you like the top of the mask? Add even more of the bits like that, you know? Maybe you're building a dinosaur right now and they've got a whole bunch of spikes on their back. Add more spikes. You can never have too many spikes, you know? Or maybe it's not even spikes. Maybe you're just like, hey, I really like these silver armor pieces that I'm adding on my Toa. Maybe I can add some more, because it's a bit I like, you know? Follow your bliss, follow your joy. If you can add something that brings you happiness, why not? Why not? It's a great idea. So hey, I really like that. I think that's a cool way of continuing the things you love, you know? It's cool. And it's a nice way to kind of spice up that mask a little bit more. Just add a little bit of extra something to it, you know? It's a good idea. It's a really good idea. So that's a nice little mock here. Next one that we're going to talk about today. This is a cool one. So this is by Thermo MOCs, and it is Takua. And this Takua, of course, is a more movie-accurate Takua inspired by some of the older original Bionicle movies. So something that immediately grabbed me about this Takua is that he has a brilliant little Coley staff here. The idea of using some of those sort of armor attachment pieces, that the CCBS armor pieces there, for the sort of scoopy bit of the Coley staff, that's great. That's a brilliant little part use. And of course, Coley staff, well, we did have some specific Coley staff pieces on some of the older original Matoran sets, but it's great to see a more custom version of that piece. Just overall, it's a really nice design. But also something else I like about this is the fact that you could very easily use that exact same design for like a shovel or something. So maybe you're building a Matoran or a Toa, and you want to give them a shovel or other sort of, you know, around the house looking utensil things that you might have, or things you might find at a construction site. I don't know. Hey, this is a really nice looking shovel design, you know? Yes, it's a Coley staff here, but it would work well as a shovel as well. And that's always the beautiful thing about building stuff, you know? You can build one thing and it could still work perfectly well in a whole new different context, you know? So always good to experiment and test things in different scenarios, because they might work in even cooler ways, you know? It's cool. It's really cool. Speaking of cool stuff, I love the general kind of torso design of Takua here, all the different greebles and things he's got going on here. The jumper plates, these sort of slope grill pieces, different studs and things as well. This very sort of detail-heavy area on his torso here is a lot more accurate to the Bionicle Light, Mask of Light movie, and it just looks nice. It's just a nice-looking aesthetic and general kind of texture and design there. So, yeah, in all honesty, man, like, it's very accurate to the source material, and it looks cool. And honestly, there's kind of this cult for that movie. I mean, obviously, we're kind of in a, you know, a general sort of following of Bionicle, as it were. But hey, I love seeing a whole bunch of movie-inspired MOCs, because the aesthetics for all the different Toa and Matoran and Rakshi and all sorts of stuff in all the different Bionicle movies was very distinct and different from the actual sets. So it's always nice to do that. Watch those movies and then build MOCs inspired by the looks and aesthetic from that. So that might be a nice little project for you. And hey, if you haven't watched those Bionicle movies, now's the time. It might give you a little bit of creative juices there, and give you something to think about and something to inspire you to build some cool stuff. So there you go. So yeah, cool. Lovely little Takua MOC here. Move on to the next one. This is a really interesting one. This is by Escano the Builder, and this is called Galand of Truth. So I love the weapon on this guy here. The idea of using that Axon axe piece and kind of flipping it in that manner and having it almost more like an anchor or a harpoon or something. I don't know. It's not. I don't know what you would call that. I'm no weapon expert here. I'm sure someone knows the technical term, but hey, it looks cool, doesn't it? So I think a very fitting, unique weapon there. And I also love the general kind of face design on this MOC, using that Rakshi head, but adding in all those little Exoforce robot arm finger pieces there, and giving him this almost like Halo Elite style head that kind of opens up in different ways, and it's just, I don't know, very unique and very different. It's always great to see Rakshi heads on MOCs, because they just look cool, you know? But it's even cooler to see them with a more sort of posable mouth like this, you know? I mean, okay, maybe that head design isn't quite like an Elite, because they also sort of open up from the side and stuff, but I don't know, it's a more menacing mouth design for this Rakshi here. It's really cool. I like it. I also like the use of some of those Overwatch shoulder pieces there. They look pretty cool. And I like the fact that they are a slightly different color, because it kind of looks like he's wearing shoulder pads, you know? He's like, I needed some armor. My shoulders were exposed, you know? Got to put some armor on them. And they work well for that. So it's cool. And I also quite enjoy the use of those Rakshi spine pieces as sort of not quite a kind of waist armor coat thing, but, well, no, it kind of is a waist armor kind of coat thing, I guess. But it could also just be the way his skin or body just sort of naturally flows from the top to the bottom there. I don't know, it looks cool. It's just a nice sort of, flow of everything there from the kind of transition down. It just works nice, just looks cool. Just great to see those pieces used in an interesting way like that. I also like I don't know, is it like a cockpit on the torso there? The use of that sort of dome trans-clear piece, you know? Maybe there's like a minifigure behind it and he's piloting this mech, but I kind of more see it as sort of a larger heart light or just, I don't know, an interesting looking body element of sorts. I think it looks cool, personally. Doesn't really matter what it is, it just looks nice, and sometimes that's enough. So yeah, a really, really fantastic, very distinct, unique MOC here with some fantastic stuff going on. Let's move now into the second last MOC in this fan-submitted MOCs episode. And this MOC is by Neil, and it's called Black Manta, because of course it is his own version of Black Manta from Aquaman. And hey, great idea. Building a DC character, building a comic character, building a superhero character of any. It doesn't even have to be DC. Marvel, Dark Horse, any comics there. Great idea, because there's some awesome character designs in any comic. So, hey, lots of source material there. And heck, watch some of the comic book character movies, your superhero movies. There's a lot of good inspiration you can grab from there. And also, hey, I like Black Manta. Really, really cool to see him in Bionicle form. I think this looks fantastic. And I think the use of a lot of different CCBS armor pieces here, just the kind of naturally very smooth texture that they have, is perfect for Black Manta. Especially the use of those printed CCBS armor shells there on the upper legs. I believe those are the ones from Darth Vader. Those are also perfect for Black Manta. That texture there, I think, is just very fitting. Of course, there's multiple different iterations of Black Manta, but I just think that general kind of texture very much fits with the kind of general premise of Black Manta. So great use of some of those printed pieces there, because, you know, sometimes the printing on a piece can make the use of it a little bit more limiting, but sometimes it makes the MOC just really shine, and this is a great example of that. And of course, if the printing is getting to you, you can always use a whole variety of things to get that printing off. I think people use like Brasso or like nail polish remover or something to get them off. Give it a Google search, you'll find stuff. It's not too hard to look up, but if you want to get rid of that printing, that is always an option. Or don't, up to you. I also love the general head design here for Black Manta. Very, very fitting, very much fits the shape and look of Black Manta there. All kind of made through a variety of different curved slope Lego element pieces, different tiles, other different system pieces there. And the sort of way that those eyes are on that specific angle is just achieved through some system clip elements. So that's really nice. That's really cool. So yeah, this is a fantastic take on Black Manta. Really cool to see him in Bionicle form. I love it. And finally, now we'll move on to the last MOC in this episode. And this is by Grace Ben, and it's called Unchained. I think this MOC's really cool. I think it's a very different, unique aesthetic to this. I really like the fact that just in general, like the moment you see him, he is this big, strong, buff dude with this very big, broad, muscular chest, you know? And I love the idea of just really leaning into that. The fact that this guy is a badass with a sword, he's strong, he's powerful, he's awesome. Just lean into that, you know? It's like we said earlier in this episode, you know? Yes, it's nice to be all atomically correct and proportionate and stuff, or don't, because that's also fun. Or you could use it to your advantage, you know? Maybe you want to make this very sort of big, bold, strong character So you exaggerate parts of his body to represent that. And yes, it may not be atomically correct, it may not be how a human body works, but you're building a sort of caricature, you know? You're naturally making some of their body parts larger to communicate something, to really emphasize who they are. It can be some good little character design there. Why not? So I really like that. It kind of reminds me of All Might from My Hero Academia, you know? He's big, he's strong, he's buff, he's the epitome, the greatest hero ever, you know? Kind of reminds me of that, you know? It's alright, because I'm here. Another thing that I really like about this MOC is the use of that quasar spike piece there in silver on the back of his hair, or on his head as hair. It kind of looks like his hair is flowing in the wind, like he is this valiant soldier and the wind is just sweeping his hair backwards, and you're like, it's just perfect, you know? It's really cool. I also love the waistcoat design. I talk about waistcoats so much on Biss, man. It always comes up. But waistcoats are cool, you know? Why not? But I love the use of that tread piece there. Just gets a bit of posability in there, very samurai-like. And also the use of those Skrull armor pieces there on the sides. And it's a great way of sort of really rounding off that waistcoat there. Really, really cool. But yeah, man, some of the poses on here, really, really kind of strong character design that's being conveyed. And he just looks cool. Some of these poses of him cutting people's heads off and stuff, he looks like a proud, strong warrior. It's, hey, really cool. Really, really cool. Love some of the stuff that's going on here. Some very unique, awesome stuff indeed. So, that's been it for a bunch of fan-submitted MOCs in this fan-submitted MOCs episode. The next fan-submitted MOCs episode will be episode 190. I do them every 10th episode. But of course, you don't have to wait until 190 comes out. Submit now, submit whenever you want, because, like I said, I always put fan-submitted MOCs in every episode I can of Biss. But you get a whole bunch in this fan-submitted MOCs episode, so stay tuned. More will be coming soon. So, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Again, if you want to submit your MOCs to the show, you saw it at the start. You know that submission email. It's also in the description below if you want to copy and paste it. And additionally, in the description below are links to the MOCs that you saw in today's episode. Not all of them have links because people don't always have social media to link on the submissions, but there was a few in there, so you can check those out and leave your thoughts on their posts. Additionally, in the description below are links to some of my social media as well, so if you want to check out some of the stuff that I've got going on, you can do so. I just became a part of a super sneaky secret Bionicle collab, so hey, you can expect a new Bionicle from me soon that's a part of that collab. Ooh, what is it? Hype, secrets, who knows? It's exciting, it's fun. So, new Bionicle will be on the way somewhat soon. I may not post it for a bit. There is a later deadline on that, but hey, you can get hyped for that. So stay tuned for my social media and see all those super sneaky secrets coming soon. Ooh, exciting. Yeah. All right. Hey, that's it for this episode of the Bionicle Inspiration Series. You have a fantastic day. Build some MOCs. Submit some MOCs. Just have a good time. Do what you want. Yeah. See you soon, guys. Happy building. Bye for now.